The next 14 days would change everything. I wasn't going to burn the house down. I was going to make them hand me the matches and light it for me. You in? Good. Because this isn't a story about heartbreak. It's about strategy. You ever catch a whiff of something foul before you find the body? That was me. Tuesday morning, wet hair dripping down my back, toothbrush dangling from my mouth, when my husband's phone lit up on the bathroom counter. Now, I'm not the kind of woman who goes snooping, but when the preview read, "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you. And your hands," something in me cracked. The name attached? Evelyn. Not just Evelyn. My sister. 9 years older. Divorced twice. Wears too much perfume and thinks red wine fixes everything. That Evelyn. I spat the toothpaste out, wiped my face, and stared at my reflection. Blank eyes. A woman suddenly not in her own bathroom, not in her own life. I didn't touch his phone. I didn't scream. I didn't barge into the bedroom where he was humming like a man with zero secrets. I just breathed. I walked out like it was any other Tuesday, kissed him on the cheek, made coffee, drove to work. But inside, oh, something wicked had woken up. Let me backtrack for a second. I'm Camille, 35, PR executive. Always the planner, the fixer, the responsible one. Married to Caleb, my college sweetheart turned ad agency partner. We had a townhouse in Portland, matching toothbrush holders, a shared Spotify account. The whole damn Pinterest life. And now? That life had a virus. A betrayal so grotesque it didn't even sting. It burned. Because you expect the other woman to be a stranger. A bartender. A gym bunny. A shadow. Not your own blood. The worst part? My gut knew something was wrong months ago. Caleb stopped laughing at my jokes. Started dressing a little nicer for client meetings. Got twitchy when I walked into the room too fast. But I never, not in 1,000 heartbreaks, imagined Evelyn. That morning I opened my notes app. Titled a new file. War Plan. Because if there's one thing I learned growing up in a house with Evelyn, it's that she always got away with it. Not this time. Not with my husband. Not with my life. Here's the thing about betrayal. Once it lands, everything starts to reek of it. That afternoon at work, Caleb texted, "Dinner at your mom's tonight, right?" I stared at my screen like it was radioactive. Yeah, dinner at my mom's. Where Evelyn would be. Where she'd probably bring a bottle of Merlot. And where one of those low-cut blouses she swore made her feel free. I typed back, "Yup. Can't wait." Lie number 1. My stomach turned. Let me explain our dynamic real quick. Evelyn is the kind of woman who floats through rooms like everyone owes her attention. She's charming in that snake oil way. Talks fast, smiles wide, and always manages to make someone else hold the emotional bag. She's my mom's favorite, of course. Evelyn's the survivor. I'm the steady one. Translation. I clean up her messes. Well, guess who's about to spill the ink? I didn't go to dinner that night unarmed. I wore neutral tones, calm makeup, no visible rage. I brought lemon bars like I always do. But this time I also brought something else. A tiny audio recorder tucked into the lining of my purse. Buy shit. My best friend from college is in tech sales and owed me a favor. It was discreet, voice-activated, and would capture every passive-aggressive tone and maybe, just maybe, a slip-up. Dinner was exactly the play I expected. Evelyn was already there when I arrived, perched at the kitchen island with a glass of Cabernet, laughing at something Caleb had said. Her hand brushed his arm. Too familiar. Too casual. My mother, oblivious, was pulling a roast out of the oven and praising Evelyn for finally showing up on time. "Camille," Evelyn chirped when she saw me. "You look tired. Everything okay?" "Tired. Tired," she said. I wanted to laugh. "Just busy," I replied with a smile so sharp it could have sliced that roast clean through. I sat across from Caleb and watched him carefully. He looked relaxed. Too relaxed. Over mashed potatoes and small talk, Evelyn launched into a story about a client weekend in Bend, how she got terrible reception, and had to borrow a charger from a friend. Caleb didn't blink, but I watched his left hand. A twitch. A tightening. That hand had always given him away. On poker night, in board meetings, when he lied about flossing. After dinner, I offered to do dishes. Caleb tried to join me, but Evelyn cut in. "Let her have a moment. You've had her all week. It was offhand. Maybe no one noticed. But my recorder caught it. I slept with earbuds in that night, scrolling old texts, syncing calendar entries. He'd said he was in client training. The same weekend Evelyn posted a lakeside photo with no face in it, just 2 wine glasses and a man's silhouette. I always thought that was her rebound guy. Turned out it was mine. By 2 a.m. I had a plan. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't cry. I'd do what Evelyn never expected. I'd beat her at her own damn game. And Caleb? He'd learn what it feels like to be caught in the middle of 2 sisters, except this time one of us wasn't playing. The next morning I dressed like war. Black jeans, silk blouse, blood-red lipstick. I looked like every woman in a revenge thriller right before the camera zooms in. But this wasn't a movie. This was real life. And I was about to turn it into a plot twist neither of them would see coming. At work I pretended everything was normal. Caleb kissed my forehead in the elevator like a good husband, the kind who remembered anniversaries and always offered to split the last French fry. He had no idea he was kissing a woman who had already uploaded his location history to a spreadsheet titled Cheater Receipts. He said he had a meeting with a real estate lead at lunch. I smiled sweetly and said, "Take your time." Lie number 2. He wasn't meeting a lead. He was meeting Evelyn. And I knew it because I'd air-tagged his briefcase. Subtle. Sleek. Buried under the lining next to his emergency gum stash. I watched his dot ping across the map and settle at a boutique hotel downtown. Classy. Discreet. Not the kind of place you book for client cocktails at noon. While he was off playing pretend with my sister, I made a few calls. First to an old colleague in HR, Elena, who owed me for covering her wedding leave last spring. "Hey," I said, "I need a favor." Totally unofficial. Elena, God bless her, didn't ask questions. Just gave me what I needed. Caleb's travel reimbursements, dating back 6 months. Guess what I found? 2 charges for executive retreats booked under Evelyn's name. Same location. Same dates. One was even during the weekend of our anniversary. That was the moment I stopped feeling sad. I started feeling dangerous. When Caleb got home, he smelled like citrus and guilt. "Good meeting?" I asked, stirring pasta sauce like I hadn't already read every GPS coordinate of his afternoon. He nodded. "They're interested. Might be a long-term client." Lie number 3. I poured him wine, kissed his cheek, and didn't let a flicker of rage slip through. Because now, I was building something. A case. A climax. A way to make them both feel what I had felt. The stillness of betrayal, the shiver of realizing you were the last to know. After dinner, I got a text from Evelyn. "Hey babe, thinking of doing a sister brunch Sunday? Just us." I stared at my phone for a solid minute. Just us? She had no idea that by Sunday, just us would mean something very, very different. Because I was done watching the show. I was about to take the stage. Sunday brunch. The softest setting for the sharpest knives. Evelyn chose the place, of course. A cute little farm-to-table spot with whitewashed brick, overpriced mimosas, and servers who called you babe. She was already seated when I arrived, sunglasses perched atop her head like she was shielding herself from the light of her own lies. "Camille!" she called out, waving with manicured fingers that probably hadn't touched a dish in a decade. "God, you look amazing. Seriously, glowing." Glowing. That was rich. I slid into the chair across from her, unwrapped my napkin with surgical precision, and gave her a smile I had rehearsed in the mirror. The kind that doesn't quite reach the eyes. We ordered Eggs Benedict for her, avocado toast for me. She chatted about her Pilates instructor, how she might start a podcast. I mean, people love my stories. And how Caleb's really been thriving at work, hasn't he? That's when I leaned in, elbows on the table, chin in my hand. "You two make such a great team," I said slowly. She blinked, paused, just for a beat, then smiled. "Oh, we're just friends, babe. Please. Caleb's like a brother to me." Lies. And I knew how to play this game better. I tilted my head. "Funny. You were always closer to my boyfriends than I ever was to yours." She laughed too hard at that. Classic deflection. I sipped my coffee, then reached into my bag and slid a folded piece of paper across the table. Her name, hotel check-in time, and a photo of Caleb's car in the lot. She stared at it, then up at me. "What is this?" I met her gaze. That's your last free pass. Silence. You really think you're better than me, don't you? She finally said, voice low. Always the perfect one. Always so moral. No, I said, leaning back. I just never wanted what was yours. You, on the other hand. She pushed the paper back. It's complicated. It always is. When you're selfish. Evelyn looked around like the brunch crowd might save her. I kept going. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to let you know that I see you. And so does he. Caleb doesn't love you, Evelyn. He doesn't even love himself. You're not special. You're just convenient. That one hit. Her eyes glassed over, but she blinked it away. So what now? She said. You blow up the whole family? I smiled. Finally, genuinely. No, sweetheart. You did that all by yourself. I'm just documenting the fire. We didn't finish our food. She left first, muttering something about needing air. I stayed. Ordered another coffee. Tipped the waiter double. Because that brunch? That wasn't the end. That was just my appetizer. Dinner was coming. And it would be served cold. The day after the brunch that ended with Evelyn practically sprinting out of a cafe like it was on fire, I went into full ghost mode. No texts. No late-night accusations. I let the silence marinate. Because silence, my dear, is where guilt grows legs. Caleb tried to act normal. He made coffee that morning like it was his love language, humming some old Sam Smith track and folding my laundry, which, let's be honest, was suspicious in itself. He even put my socks in pairs. The man hadn't matched a sock since 2017. I watched him move around our kitchen in his favorite gray sweater. The one I bought him on our first trip to Big Sur. The one he wore when he proposed. The one Evelyn had posted about, once. An accidental shot of it slung over a chair during family dinner. I stared at that sweater like it had betrayed me too. Later that afternoon I visited my lawyer. Nothing flashy yet. Just a consultation, a manila folder of printouts, and one USB drive full of screenshots, photos, and voice notes. I labeled it Phase 1. Because yes, I am that kind of woman now. My attorney, a no-nonsense divorce specialist named Gina with razor-sharp glasses and blood-red nails, glanced at the folder and said, "This isn't revenge. This is preparation. Good on you." She didn't flinch when I told her the mistress was my sister. She just sighed and said, "People always underestimate sisters." By the time I got home, Caleb was in our bedroom with his laptop open and a glass of whiskey. His guilt combo. I didn't say a word. I just stood in the doorway watching him. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded. "You've been quiet lately." I tilted my head. "Just tired." He crossed the room, put his arms around me. "You know I love you, right?" I looked at him. And in that moment I realized. This man would lie straight to my face and then kiss me goodnight like he deserved forgiveness just for saying the word love. I didn't respond. Just leaned into the hug. Because the best lies, the kind that leave scars, aren't spoken. They're whispered in the absence of truth. And Caleb? He was about to learn what absence really felt like. The sweater he loved so much? I mailed it to Evelyn. No note. Just a lipstick stain on the collar. Mine. Not hers. Let them chew on that. 2 days later, Caleb's birthday rolled around. He expected a weekend getaway like we always did. A cabin, a cozy fire, the usual Instagram-worthy fake happy photos. But this year, I gave him an envelope instead. No card. No bow. Just an unassuming white envelope on the kitchen table, waiting beside his sad little birthday muffin and a candle I didn't even bother to light. He walked in, rubbing sleep from his eyes like a man who still thought I loved him. "What's this?" he asked, grinning like a boy expecting concert tickets. I took a sip of coffee. "Open it." Inside. A printout of his text conversation with Evelyn from 2 weeks ago. The one where he said, "I wish I'd married you instead. She doesn't see me anymore." He stared at the page. Didn't speak. I waited. After a minute he looked up. "Where did you get this?" "You left your iPad logged in." "Rookie move." His face twitched. That same nervous tick I'd seen when he dented my car and blamed a hit and run. Camille, it's complicated." "No," I said, my voice steady. "It's pathetic." He reached for my hand, but I pulled away like his touch might leave a stain. So what now? He asked, his voice smaller than I've ever heard it. I'm not burning it all down. Yet, I said, standing. But I wanted you to know that I know. And Evelyn? He asked quietly. I smiled. Oh, she knows too. I had brunch with her. We talked about your stamina. He paled. I leaned in, slow and deliberate. You're not in control of this story anymore, Caleb. I am. Every chapter. I grabbed my coat and my keys. He followed me to the door, still in boxers, still holding the crumpled paper like it might start bleeding. Where are you going? He asked. I paused in the doorway. To finally enjoy a day that doesn't revolve around pretending you're someone worth celebrating. Then I left. He didn't follow. That night, I slept in a hotel downtown with a skyline view and room service waffles. No drama. No calls. No tears. Just me alone and oddly at peace. Because sometimes the best birthday gift isn't a second chance. It's a first step out. 3 days post-envelope. And the group chat with Evelyn and our mother suddenly lit up like it was Christmas in hell. I knew it was coming. She had clearly just received the sweater. The one with my lipstick stain, tucked in a tissue-lined box like a passive-aggressive love letter. No note. No explanation. Just that beautiful haunting silence I knew would drive her nuts. The message read, Evelyn. Camille. We need to talk. ASAP. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened a fresh Google Doc titled, List of Lies, Cross-Referenced by Date and Idiocy. It was time to turn receipts into a masterpiece. That afternoon my mom called. And because she's a woman who can smell drama from 6 counties away, she opened with, What is going on between you and your sister? Evelyn called me sobbing. I took a deep breath. Did she tell you she's been sleeping with my husband? Silence. Not gasping silence. Not defensive. Just stunned. She said it was a mistake, Mom finally said, voice thin. A complicated, emotional mistake. Oh, great, I said flatly. So now betrayal comes with nuance. Does it also come with wine pairings and hotel rewards points? Camille. Mom. I have proof. I'm not asking for permission to be angry. She sighed, the kind of sigh that lets you know your rage is inconvenient for her sense of family unity. You and your sister have always been at odds. Because she treats loyalty like a clearance sale, I snapped. Limited supply. Goes fast. That night Evelyn texted again. Evelyn. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It just happened. I stared at the message for 5 minutes before replying. Your legs didn't just fall open, Evelyn. You made a choice. Repeatedly. Then I blocked her. Because here's the thing about apologies, they're not redemption coupons. They're just confessions with better PR. And I wasn't in the business of forgiving people who threw matches and then cried about the fire. Caleb tried calling twice that night. I watched the screen light up, ignored it, and poured myself a glass of wine I didn't even want. I wasn't celebrating. I was waiting. Because soon, I'd be delivering a dinner invitation of my own. And they'd both learn what a woman with nothing left to lose, and every receipt filed by timestamp, can really do. 2 weeks after the sweater incident and one very satisfying text block, I sent out invitations. Handwritten. Cream cardstock. Classy enough to sting. I called it a friends and family dinner. Because when you're planning an ambush with hors d'oeuvres, you go elegant. Everyone got one. My parents, Caleb, Evelyn are mutual friends, especially the ones who followed Evelyn on Instagram and still liked all her self-care Sunday posts like they didn't know she was breaking up a marriage. It was set for Saturday night. Our house. The dining room where we once hosted Thanksgivings and played board games. Evelyn always mysteriously won. I planned the whole thing like a gallery opening, mood lighting, candles, a custom Spotify playlist titled Betrayal with Jazz. When Caleb got the invite, he texted me, This dinner, is it what I think it is? I replied, No, it's worse. I spent the next 3 days prepping. Not food, information. Each place setting would include a sealed envelope. Inside, curated bits of truth. Photos. Text. One even had a screenshot of Evelyn's Pinterest board titled, Wedding Vibes, featuring rings that looked suspiciously like mine. Saturday came. I wore black silk and red heels. Caleb showed up first, bottle of wine in hand like this was just a truce dinner. He looked nervous, hair gelled too carefully. Then Evelyn walked in. She had the nerve to hug me. I didn't flinch. Just smiled and said, "Hope you brought your appetite. There's a lot to digest." The rest of the guests filtered in, clinking glasses and trading compliments. No one knew what they were walking into. Not yet. We sat. I poured wine. Made a toast. To truth, I said, holding my glass up. And to the masks we finally take off, before someone rips them off for us. Then I nodded. Everyone opened their envelopes. The silence that followed? Delicious. Caleb's best friend dropped his fork. My mother gasped. Evelyn's face went from blush pink to corpse white in under 3 seconds. No one spoke. They didn't have to. Evelyn looked at me wild-eyed. "You invited all of them just to humiliate us?" I leaned in across the table, smiling sweetly. "Oh, Evie, this isn't humiliation. This is documentation. You did that all on your own." Caleb stood. "Camille, this isn't fair." I stood too. "You're right. Fair would have been not sleeping with my sister. This is what's called rebalancing the scales." I picked up my glass. "And in case you're wondering, dessert's coming. And it's ice cold." Then I sat back down and watched them both realize I hadn't even started dessert. Let me paint the scene. Evelyn's lip was twitching like she was trying to find the right lie and couldn't settle on one fast enough. Caleb kept glancing around the table like there was an escape hatch he'd forgotten about. My mother's hand was clamped over her mouth, and one of our friends was slowly chewing salad like he'd been taken hostage. I took a deep breath. Calm. Composed. Carnivorous. "You know what I find fascinating?" I said, folding my napkin neatly in my lap. "The effort it takes to lie. It's practically a full-time job. Multiple calendars, locked phones, selective silence. So much coordination, and for what?" Evelyn opened her mouth to respond, but I held up a hand. "Not now, dear." I turned to Caleb. "Did you know Evelyn texted me last month about finally being ready for something real? You weren't even mentioned. Not once." He blinked. "I think she loved the chase, not the man. You were just the bridge between two versions of herself. Problem is, she burned it while crossing." Evelyn snapped then. "This isn't your story to control." "Oh, but it is," I said, tilting my head. "You made it mine the moment you slept with my husband, and then smiled at me like you weren't leaving footprints all over my trust." I turned to the rest of the table. "For the record, I didn't do this to shame anyone. I did it so we could all stop pretending. I'm tired of pretending. Aren't you?" Silence. Even the forks were still. Then I stood, walked to the kitchen, and returned with a tray. Miniature lemon tarts. With edible printed toppers. Screenshots of Caleb and Evelyn's most damning texts. Tasteful. Literal. I placed one in front of each guest like party favors at the most toxic baby shower of the year. Someone laughed. It started small, just a snort, but then spread. One of our coworkers, Greg, doubled over. "Holy shit," he gasped. "This is the most savage dinner I've ever been to." "Glad you're enjoying yourself," I said. "Don't forget to take your envelope home. Think of it as a party bag from the depths of hell." Evelyn stood, knocking over her chair. "You're unhinged." "No," I replied, sipping wine. "I'm just finally not afraid of losing people who never deserve to be close." Caleb followed her out, calling her name, already unraveling. "And me?" I sat back down, smiled at the stunned table. "So, anyone wants seconds? Because vengeance is sweet. But lemon tarts with receipts? That's divine." The dinner ended like a bad improv show. Too much tension, not enough exits. People trickled out one by one, clutching their envelopes like they were holding radioactive material. Some offered awkward hugs. Others couldn't look me in the eye. My mother muttered something about family counseling, to which I politely responded, "This was the counseling." By the time I closed the door behind the last guest, I stood in the hallway alone. Alone but lighter. The silence didn't feel hollow. It felt earned. The next morning, Evelyn's Instagram went dark. No more photos of yoga poses and iced lattes with healing energy captions. Her last story, posted an hour before the dinner, was a boomerang of clinking wine glasses. Caption: "Grateful for growth." "Oh honey," Caleb texted once. Just once. I don't even know where to start. I'm sorry. I didn't reply, but I saved the message in a folder titled Irrelevant Apologies. That Monday I walked into our office building. Yes, we still work together because God has a wicked sense of humor, and I wore a new blazer. White, clean, untouched. Symbolic if you're into that sort of thing. He was already there, standing by the coffee machine like a man bracing for an earthquake. I didn't flinch. I breezed past him and said, "Morning, Caleb." Just like I might say weather's nice, or your fly's down. And then I went to my office and filed the divorce papers. The paralegal called to confirm they'd been received by his lawyer. Later that afternoon, I had an email from HR asking if I wanted to continue sharing an office suite. I replied, "I'd prefer a space free of marital toxins. Thanks." The HR girl added a smiley face to her response. Women always know. Evelyn sent flowers. I didn't open the card. I threw them out without hesitation. Because if you need to apologize in cursive and carnations, it's already too late. The only person I did hear from that mattered was my friend Lisa. She sent a voice note. "You're a legend. And also terrifying. Brunch soon?" Yes, Lisa. Brunch soon. Because life goes on even after betrayal, even after revenge. And mine was just getting good. A week after the dinner, yes, it deserved capital letters. I came home from work, looked around the townhouse Caleb and I once built together, and realized I hated every square inch of it. Not because it was ugly. It wasn't. It had subway tile, soft lighting, and a wine rack he insisted on filling with bottles he never drank. It was Instagram-worthy, curated, but it reeked of a life that never existed. Every corner had an echo of him, of us, of her. The couch where I nursed a flu while he worked late. The hallway where Evelyn once hung a housewarming photo of the three of us. God, the irony. Even the damn linen closet still smelled like his cologne. So I did what every emotionally stable, totally fine woman does after nuclear betrayal. I staged an exorcism. I started with the bed. The sheets went straight to the garbage. The mattress? Donated. I wasn't about to sleep on fabric soaked in lies. I ordered a new one. Memory foam. Queen-sized. Just enough room for me and my future piece. Next, the kitchen. I boxed up every wine glass, every dish we got from our wedding registry, and donated it all. I kept one mug, the one that said Boss Babe, because I liked the energy. Then I ordered a new set. Matte black. Unapologetic. In the bathroom I tossed out everything we shared. His razor, the toothpaste we both used, even the stupid eucalyptus shower spray he claimed, helped him focus. I replaced it all with lavender and sage. And the photo albums? Those went into a box labeled evidence. Not burned. Not ripped. Just filed. Because this wasn't rage anymore. It was record keeping. By the end of the weekend, the house felt emptier. Quieter. But also freer. And then I did something I hadn't done in years. I danced. Right there in the living room. In a hoodie and boy shorts. No makeup. No plan. Just me, a glass of red wine, and Alanis Morissette screaming poetic vengeance into the night. Because healing doesn't always look like therapy sessions and self-help books. Sometimes, it's shaking your ass to you oughta know, in a room that finally feels yours. And in that moment I didn't miss him. I didn't miss her. I didn't even miss the version of me who tolerated them. I was too busy laughing. Free. Finally. And ready for whatever came next. Started with a key. Caleb had moved out 2 weeks ago, but he'd left a small silver key on the entry table. No note. No explanation. Just the key and a coward's silence. My first instinct? Toss it. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. Especially when you've been lied to so thoroughly, your mind becomes a forensic lab, dissecting every breadcrumb. So I took the key, called in sick the next day, emotionally preoccupied, and followed the address on an old invoice I found in our file cabinet. Safekeep Storage, Unit number 319. It was 20 minutes across town, behind a strip mall and a vape shop that always smelled like synthetic watermelon. I pulled up, gave the clerk Caleb's name, and used the key. When the metal door lifted, what I saw nearly made me laugh out loud. Boxes. Dozens of them. Labeled guitar pedals. Old tax docs. Winter coats. And in the back corner, a love nest of betrayal, a small armchair, a blanket I'd never seen before, a cheap candle labeled Midnight Romance. And worst of all, a framed photo of Evelyn. Not them together. Just her. Just her sitting in what looked like my kitchen holding my cat, who hates strangers, mind you, and smiling like she hadn't been systematically dismantling my life. I stood there for a full minute, stunned by how pathetic it all was. This was where Caleb hid his secrets? A budget storage unit with bad lighting and secondhand shame? I didn't cry. Didn't scream. I just pulled out my phone and took pictures. Then I walked out, left the door open and texted him. You left your shrine to mediocrity unlocked. Might want to handle that before someone steals your scented lies. No response. 2 hours later the lock was changed. But the damage? Already done. I printed the photo of Evelyn holding my cat and pinned it to the fridge with a magnet that said, "Bless this mess." Because sometimes the best way to deal with betrayal is to frame it like art. And honey, that little altar of adultery was a masterpiece of failure. You know what's worse than a betrayal? The parade of apologies that come after. They start slow, one, maybe 2 texts from old friends who had no idea, or thought something was off but didn't want to get involved. And then suddenly, your inbox becomes a confessional booth for every coward who chose silence over truth. The first came from Caleb's assistant, Jenna. "Camille, I'm so sorry. I didn't know how to tell you. He used to block off client meetings that didn't exist. Figured, I just didn't think it was my place." My place. That phrase kept popping up. I didn't think it was my place. As if integrity requires a formal invitation. Then came Derek, Caleb's college buddy. "Hey, I just wanted to say I had no idea about Evelyn. But I always thought Caleb was kinda slippery. Sorry, I should have said something." Should've. Would've. Didn't. Even my own aunt chimed in. "Sweetheart, I always found Evelyn's energy a little competitive. The way she clung to Caleb at the family barbecue last year? I just thought, well, sisters can be close." I stared at the screen, sipping coffee from my one surviving mug. The irony wasn't lost on me. The truth that once hid in shadows was now bursting out like rats from a flood. But here's the kicker, none of it made me feel better. Because apologies after exposure aren't confessions. They're cover-your-ass prayers in a new dress. The only one who didn't apologize? Evelyn. No text. No call. Not a single attempt at explanation since she stormed out of the dinner and vanished from our family chat like a bad glitch. That silence? That was the truest thing she ever gave me. I was walking through downtown that evening, leather boots clicking on wet pavement, when I passed a boutique window and caught my reflection. And I stopped. Not because of how I looked, but because for the first time in months, maybe years, I didn't look like someone waiting to be chosen. I looked like someone who had chosen herself. No apology had given me that. I had earned it. Alone. So to all the well-meaning texts and guilt-ridden voicemails, thanks but no thanks. Your remorse won't stitch me back together. I've already done that myself. With gold thread. I hosted a funeral for my marriage. No guests. No priest. Just me, a playlist of sad indie ballads, and a black dress that fit too well for comfort. The setting? My backyard. Candles. A glass of Pinot Noir. A shoebox labeled Caleb. Inside, our wedding vows. His tie from our rehearsal dinner. A stub from the movie we saw on our first date. The dried rose I'd saved from the bouquet he gave me after our third fight. The one where he cried and said, "You're my anchor." I always thought that meant something. Turns out anchors can drag you down too. I sat in a lawn chair under the stars and read the vows aloud. I promise to always choose you. You are my home. I laughed. Out loud. Not a bitter laugh. Just tired. Then I struck a match. And watched the paper curl into ash. It didn't feel like rage. It felt like letting go of something that had already been dead. Like brushing dust off a book I'd finally finished. The story had ended chapters ago. I just hadn't put it down yet. After the flames died, I buried the ashes in a flower bed. Tomorrow I'd plant lavender. Because I'm poetic like that. And as I stood there in the dark, fingers dusted with soot and old promises, I whispered something I hadn't said in months. Goodbye. Not just to Caleb, but to the woman who waited for him to become better. To the one who excused, who adjusted, who softened herself into a shell to keep the illusion alive. She deserved more. And so did I. So this wasn't mourning. It was a release. And the woman who walked back inside that house? She wasn't broken. She was free. And finally, ready for the part where she gets to live. 3 months after the funeral for one, I stood in line at a bookstore cafe, holding a copy of The Art of Leaving, and realized I wasn't angry anymore. Not at Caleb. Not at Evelyn. Not even at myself. I was still. In the best way. That day marked exactly 1 year since I found the text. You know, the preview that detonated everything. I saved it. Not as a wound but as a trophy. A reminder that I once chose myself over comfort. That I walked through fire and didn't become ash. I sipped my latte, looked around the little shop, and let the quiet wrap around me like a new kind of armor. I'd sold the townhouse 2 months ago. Moved into a smaller space across the river. No shared drawers. No old ghosts. Just new light and clean lines and a cat I adopted who hated men. She's perfect. Work shifted too. I didn't leave my job, but I stopped overperforming. Started setting boundaries. When Caleb's name came up in meetings, I didn't flinch. He moved to another firm. I didn't ask which. Didn't care. Evelyn? She reached out once. A long rambling email filled with words like healing, therapy, and regret. I read it. Twice. Then archived it. Some things don't need replies. What mattered was this. I was no longer surviving. I was living. I joined a dance class. Not to find myself, just to move without thinking. I started writing again. Not emails. Not legal affidavits. Stories. Unfinished and messy and mine. One afternoon, I ran into an old friend from college. He asked how I was. I didn't say fine. I said free. Because that's the truth. I didn't just walk away from betrayal. I walked into something better. Myself. So here I am, full circle, sitting by a window with my favorite book and a crooked smile. And if you're reading this, if you're where I was, holding your breath in a house filled with lies, know this. You'll get out. You'll be okay. And one day you'll sip your coffee in peace and think, I almost stayed. But thank God I didn't. Because survival is a story. But freedom? That's a damn legacy.